Hello there and welcome back to another edition of the Hot Lap Classic Remastered, and this time we take a look at the 1991 Nissan Silvia K's 2000cc. This is our final S13 to take on the course, and the S13s have done pretty well around this course, it does have to be said, all in all, especially more recently. In fact, the quickest Silvia that we've had round was actually the Silvia Q's of this era, 1991 2000cc. So yeah, this should be doing pretty well. I mean, there's also the 180SX, which was a thousandth quicker than that, again sort of S13 chassis, so pretty decent sort of track record for these. So this should be interesting. It is worth mentioning the difference from the Q's and the K's. This has 76 more horsepower and weighs about 53 kilos extra. So on a normal racetrack, this would be a shoo-in to be quicker than the Q's. However, around our track, I'm not so confident, I've got to be honest. Silvias do have a tendency to be a bit sort of slidey and slightly unable to control the power. So adding more power to a Silvia, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a great idea, but we'll see. Same race mod that you see on the other 91 spec Silvia as well. Obviously different colour schemes for the K's. Front-engine rear-wheel drive, 386 horsepower, 1,043 kilograms. Again, not sort of mad power figures, but in a Silvia chassis concerns me a little bit. To find out how quick the Nissan Silvia K's 2000cc is, it is going to get 6 laps of the Motorsports Land track and it'll set the best time it possibly can. Our current leader is the Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak version. That car set a time of a 25.696. The Silvia S13 is unlikely to beat that. Any of them, to be fair. Even if you used to put 1,000 horsepower into one of these and make it weigh absolutely nothing, it still wouldn't compete with the Pikes Peak Escudo. In terms of where this is going to go, as I mentioned, quickest Silvia is the Q's. That set a time of a 30.424. So that's the sort of time we're looking at in terms of beating this. It wouldn't surprise me if this car is very slightly slower, but the split times sort of point to it being a bit quicker. So far though, this doesn't feel too bad. Sort of long ratioed, which is interesting. Second gear seems to spool up for a very long time. 30.467 on its first flyer. Okay, that is an interesting one. I'm going to check when we stop doing this. That second gear is really long. I'm so curious what gearbox is in this, to be honest. Or if I like really cock a lap up, I'll quickly check it. But no, it's okay, interesting. I wasn't expecting the gears to be as long as this. I don't remember if they were this long in the Q's. In case you're wondering, the other K's, I think that set a time of 30.9. I don't necessarily think there's like half a second's difference between, you know, one model year of an S13 to another. I think it's just sort of, as we've got more used to driving around this track and where we can make up time and where we can't, that's sort of where the discrepancy there's come from. So yeah, I don't think there is like a ridiculous amount of time gained from using the 91s over the 88s. I mean, I could be wrong there. I'm sure there's some Gran Turismo 2 expert with a spreadsheet that will tell you whether a 91 or an 88 is quicker. I think these are both available as first cars. 88's obviously very slightly cheaper, so maybe they do have a sort of small baked-in disadvantage compared to these ones. I doubt it though, because this is Gran Turismo, and Gran Turismo isn't really built on much logic, it does have to be said. Come on, there's definitely a little bit of time in this car. Just gotta not push it wide into... I had a really good sector there when I was going around with this before, so... To the line, 30.388. It's a 5-speed, okay. I thought it was going to be more than that. I mean, it is the quickest Silvia we've ever had, so we'll definitely take that one. Bit touch and go there. I think that could go a little bit quicker. I think it could set a more convincing 30.3. I mean, 30.3 is a very congested part of the leaderboard, it does have to be said. So there's a lot of cars sort of hanging around in that void there, so... But no, good driving car, surprisingly well behaved. I think the Q's was a little bit nicer to drive, to be honest, just because it has got that less power. Wow, okay, that is really interesting. So, the final lap didn't have any of the quickest sector. We said the quickest first sector twice. I mean, yeah, judging from sort of that, it'll tell you there's a 30.3334 in there. That sort of falls in line with what I would think this car would get, so yeah, I'll take not being that far off in terms of that one. Yeah, it's good. I think the Q's is better, to be honest. Just sort of spitballing, because that car got a fairly decent time. I mean, I could be completely wrong because I drove it ages ago, but I think the Q's is slightly nicer to drive, but K's, in the majority of situations, the K's is going to be quicker. A 30.388 will place this into 259th place. Goes between the Lotus Esprit Sport 350 and the Vauxhall Tigra. That is a weird place for this car to show up. It is quicker than the Toyota Supra RZ, the Mustang SVT Cobra, Tommy Kyra M30 GTS, Toyota Aristo, the 180SX, and the Silvia Q's 2000cc, which we discussed, TRD 2000 GT. There's a lot of stuff. This is sort of slower. I mean, cars sort of comparable to this. Slower than the Savannah RX-7 GT Turbo, which makes sense to me. Fairlady Z version R, although admittedly that's the new car version of that. Just trying to look. Tommy Kyra M30 GTSR 30.3. Yeah, I mean, as far as like our sort of ranking on how good your first car can be, this one's done pretty well, it does have to be said. So, and it is the quickest Silvia. But will it be the quickest Silvia for long? Well, that's what we're going to find out next time. So, join me for that. And until then, farewell.